I was born in 1972 when the world population